So where are we today?
We're at Petal and Pink here in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Yes, we are. It's a very, very cool place. If you have not seen Petal and Pink right here in Raleigh, it is a mental wellness boutique.
Absolutely. Right off Glenwood Avenue, providing amazing resources just for overall wellness, whether it's books, whether it's recreational items. It is just a fantastic place right in our backyard. So we definitely recommend.
It's a great discovery.
You definitely recommend a visit. Love this place.
So speaking of mental wellness,
okay,
one of the things I know we've always talked about is how financial instability in a marriage particularly can cause a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety.
Absolutely.
Particularly around things like debt and those types of obligations, being underwater with, leverage and financing. It really takes a toll. To be honest with you, one of our reasons for personally pursuing debt freedom and debt independence and really just financial freedom, period, has been to eliminate some of these stressors. But I think it's more than that. I think it's bigger, even bigger than that, right? And you hear these buzz terms. I'm sure you have tons of content out there about financial freedom, retire early, and everything like that. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the reasons why we are really pursuing financial freedom, because it's beyond debt, right? It's a beyond debt elimination.
So I think the financial journey, I would say, I've come to the realization that it has two stages. The stage I knew about was debt freedom. That's what's talked about, pay credit cards, the snowball effect, pay off your car loan. But after you do that, then what? There was like this nebulous you should invest after that. You should plan for the future. It's like, okay, but then why? So then I realized the second stage is really financial freedom or financial independence. And the mind state and approach going into that is much different than the debt freedom stage. And for us, we went at debt freedom with so much intensity and fervor. It's almost like, you get to the end of the game and it's like, all right, now what do we do with all this energy now, that we have this, first stage, I'll call it maybe a first stage of freedom. How can we get into this next stage, this financial freedom, this financial independence? And then to your point, why do that?
Right.
What would be
why
the
make
overall reason?
What's the reason why make all this effort? And I know there's many people out there, this whole movement, right, about basically being able to retire early, become financially free and then quit your job, live off of your investments and your assets and retire early. I'll be honest, that's not my reasoning. That doesn't appeal to me. And here's the thing. Okay. Here's why. And I know we kind of go back and forth, about this, is that I personally do not believe in retirement, or at least not retirement as it's been marketed to me, or I see it marketed at
What do you mean? What do you see?
Well, what I see a lot of, is the idea, you become financially independent or financially free, you retire early, and now you can spend your days sitting on beaches in faraway lands or islands somewhere, sipping mimosas and just, leisurely, just living the days away, and that's it. Here's the thing. I'm an ambitious person, okay? I just am. That's who I am. And I think for someone to even reach the stage of being actually financially independent, you probably have to be a pretty ambitious person. You have to be very intentional about it. And so then to take all that energy, to your point, of striving towards this goal and now lay on a beach for the next 20, 30, 40 years?
It's not going to happen.
Not appealing. And so also too, given my faith beliefs, I believe that all of us, everyone, has a calling. That God has literally supernaturally placed inside them. Something that they're called to do in this world, on this earth. And what I see financial freedom is literally making you free to pursue that without restraint, without the boundaries, without the limitations.
Absolutely.
I have to put in these hours. I have to get this money to pay off this debt. I have to pay off this mortgage, this car loan, this, that. To be unrestrained, untethered, and be able to fully live out like your God-ordained assignment, in this world.
Free to really make an impact. And for us, based on our faith, It's that freedom so we can glorify God in whatever he's saying for us to do. Benjamin Franklin actually talked about it, believe it or not. Ben Franklin. And his goal was to have financial independence to serve humanity, to, I guess, leave a better world than he was in right now. So it's independence to make an impact. So yes, he did, I'm sure have his hobbies and things like that, but he pursued that freedom so he could explore things and explore how to create a better world. And that's what I believe pursuit should be for, to make some type of great. Now, let me say this. Yeah, you got more time, pursue your hobbies. You want to learn a language, you want to dance, you want to travel.
Surf, do it.
Yeah, do that. We're saying definitely do that.
But that can't be it.
That can't be it. Yeah, that can't be it.
That's not going to satisfy the desire for something greater that's all in all our hearts.
Absolutely.
That eternal level desire for something bigger, something greater.
Yeah. And this, as you travel, as you pursue your hobby, there's a lot of learning that can happen, whether you're learning a new culture, whether you're learning a new language, and all of that can just be the tapestry of your overall freedom journey. Like, hey, I went to this country, and that just opened up my perspective. And now I'm back to where I'm from, and I'm about to make this type of change. So, I would include that. Let's face it, you're pursuing a goal sometimes 5, 10, 15, 20 years. At some point, you definitely need to ease off the gas a little bit and just take a breath. All right, now I'm going to strive for this impact.
And that reminds me of a concept about retirement. Whereas though, you work for a period of time and you basically accumulate enough living expenses to take a mini retirement, to take some time off. Absolutely. And so I would love to sort of intersect those concepts with financial freedom for us. Like I really would love to, where we have financial freedom, we're free to pursue what God has called us to do, what we are designed to do and accomplish, impact in this world. Yeah. But we also can fit in these mini retirements where, to your point, we strive, we ambitiously pursue, what we think, we're supposed to be doing. And then we take that time, to retract, and be with just each other, with our family, and get some quality of life investment in, as a mini retirement. Maybe it's a couple of months, or wherever the case may be. I think that's a better rhythm.
I do think so.
And I think it keeps our minds, one, from atrophy. Because like I said,
absolutely,
year 2, 3 of me laying on the beach, I think I'm dull with it by that time, personally. Yeah. But also to, again, just refreshing ourselves, getting the rest, a rhythm of rest we need to pursue, again, these God ordained callings, in our life.
So. I think of the rhythm of like a boxer, if you will. Like when you step in the ring, it's not like 9 rounds straight. Like you fight as hard as you can, then you take a seat, for a few seconds, and then you start to fight again. With the way in which we work and where we live, we're like fighting the whole time. Like, all right, fight for, from your 20s to your 60s, and then hopefully the fight ends and you can rest. But what type of condition is the boxer going to be at the end of that fight? So just being able to, rest, rejuvenate, rethink, replan, kind of redirect, and then, get back into it and have that freedom to explore, because of debt obligations or other cost obligations. I know my mind wasn't open to the possibilities of impact. I'm trying to make an impact on this credit card.
I'm trying to make an impact on this bill.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't even have I couldn't even conceptualize the mind space in order to do that. And that's what I really believe financial freedom, financial independence could be used for. But at the same time, I will say there's a dark side to all this. And
the dark side.
Yeah, and what I mean by the dark side is, even as we were pursuing debt freedom, there was a sense of loneliness at some stages where, it was just, it seemed like it was just us against the world, and in reference to, we're trying to do the snowball, we're trying to have a budget. We didn't have too many people in our circle doing that. And now you're going to add another layer on there of this nebulous concept called financial freedom. Is like, you're basically putting yourself on an island at that point. So I think that's something that we need to talk about. That is a real thing. Trying to find a community of people who are about that freedom, are about financial freedom, in order to make a greater impact, in order to glorify God, whatever it is. Because on this journey, it's long. And sometimes it can get lonely.
No, it can. It's, again, going back to the nuclear support.
Sure.
Us as a couple, we got to be on the same page, because we've seen that happen where one spouse is all about the pursuit of, debt freedom or financial freedom, depending on what stage they're in. And the other spouse is like, I'm just trying to pay my bills and live my life. What are we doing all this for?
Right.
And so, being on one page with one another, I think is step one. And then, I think you're absolutely right. For us, we've had some people, but not a huge community of people pursuing the same things, using the same financial disciplines and practices that we're using, even in our families.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Just families coming from a different perspective on money as well than how we're living now. Different resources, right? I think it's really important to reach out there, try to find this community. I think that's one of the reasons why we started this channel, right?
You're out there doing that.
If anyone is subscribing or listening us or following us, this is hopefully a community we can begin to build more of, for that support, for that encouragement that you're not alone, you're not crazy. And
you're not crazy.
We're trying to make this happen.
And we want to, we definitely want to conclude this video on a high note that the light side, the bright side, is so much brighter than the dark side. Again, through God's grace, we were able to pay off like our car loans, student loans, credit card debt, and our overall mortgage. And I would do anything in my power to never, have that.
Ever.
That again, never ever. So the freedom, while I can't put it into words, you just have to trust me and believe me that it is so worth it to go back to what I call kid status, where it's just like, hey, I just pay my utilities and that's it. And now I do have that freedom for creativity. I do have more time. I don't feel that pressure, don't feel that anxiety. And I'm able to think of, okay, I have many years ahead, Lord willing, that I want to work, I want to do. How can I really use my time to make an impact in the best way? And it's nothing like it. Like words,
nothing like it.
I cannot put into words. You're just going to have to trust and believe me on this one. So
in summary, debt freedom, good.
Yes.
Financial freedom, good. However, for what reason? That's the question.
Yeah. And
for us, it's to make impact. And to make some significant impact using our God-given talents and calling.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so if you like this discussion, definitely feel free to share it out, like it, and continue to subscribe. Thank you so much.